Hello everyone. Today we're going to go over our grammar worksheet for WH questions. First, let's take a look at the box on the left. We have I study English, you study English, he studies English, she studies English, it studies English, we study English, and they study English. On the right, we have also the question of WH. So we have, where do I study English? When do you study English? Why does it study English? And how do they study English? So we have the different kinds of questions, and they will follow the table on the right. All of them except for who, which is always going to be who studies English, who rides a bike, who eats donuts. You're going to have the S or the IES version of the word. Now, the other way, it's going to be with what question. So that is going to change depending on whether it's I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. For instance, what does he study? What do I study? What do you study? What do we study? What do they study? Basically, you're going to use the first box. So for instance, what does he study? What does she study? What does it study? The first one, it says Thomas studies English at college. So what is the question? The question is, where does Thomas study? Okay, let's start looking at the other answers. Number 2, we have her friend lives in London. So the question has to be obviously where. So where does her friend live? Number 3, Susan studies math. So it has to be a what question. So when you have what, it's either going to be what do or what does Nanchala study. And then because Susan is a name, it falls under he, she, it. So you're going to say, what does Susan study? We have number 4. So Eva lives in New York. So it's going to be who. So let's look right here at the bottom. Remember, the extra special one is who. So it's always going to be the S or IES version. So it's going to be who lives in New York. Number 5 is a little tricky. His brother always gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you want to look at when questions, but his is not listed there. But the answer is, when does his brother get up in the morning? Number 6, Mr. Brown goes to work by bus. So we want to look at how. So let's go back and we look at how. It's going to be, how does Mr. Brown go to work? Because it's going to follow the he, she, it, or proper noun name. So studies, does, Nanchala. Number 7, the supermarket sells apples. So a supermarket is an it. So basically, what does the supermarket sell? Or you replace supermarket with it. So what does it sell? So both are okay. Number 8, they usually travel to the countryside on holidays. And then it's a where question. And you're going to look up, use where and they. So where do they usually travel to on holidays? And number 9, Richard is a teacher. he teaches. So pretty simple. What does Richard do? And we're using does because Richard falls within the he, she, it formula. So what does Richard do? Because you could replace Richard, a man's name, with he, and it becomes what does he do? All right, finally, number 10. This bus goes to the shopping mall. Very simple. Where does this bus go? Because the bus is an it. It's not a man or a woman. So you can also say, where does it go? But anyway, where does this go? Okay, good job, everybody. If you have any other questions, please let me know.